This is Jeremy Lemon with ACSblog, and we're with Professor Adam Winkler, a constitutional law scholar, professor at UCLA Law School. We're at an event regarding the Supreme Court decisions in DC v. Heller and McDonald v. Chicago. How are those two Supreme Court decisions playing out amongst lower federal courts?
Well, there's been a lot of cases. Every criminal who's charged with a crime dealing with guns has seen Heller and McDonald as a get-out-of-jail-free card. So you're seeing the federal courts being inundated by these Second Amendment challenges. And the courts are genuinely confused about how to address the constitutional question in these cases. There's been challenges to any number of different kinds of laws, and the courts have responded with any number of different kinds of analyses of the constitutionality. Some courts have applied strict scrutiny, some have applied intermediate scrutiny, some have applied categorical rules to try to address the question. The courts are genuinely confused. If there's one unifying theme in the court cases, however, is that they uphold gun control. Virtually every law that's been challenged on Second Amendment grounds has been upheld.
Okay. Well, what does that say, though, about the confusion then? Does it matter a whole lot?
So far, it hasn't mattered a lot if you're a proponent of gun control, because you're seeing these laws generally survive. But it matters, I think, in the long term. I think that this kind of confusion makes it difficult to know, if you're a lawmaker, what kinds of laws you can pass. You might think, okay, well, the laws are all surviving, so I can pass anything. But that's probably not the right lesson to take from these Supreme Court cases. And the more unsettled the lower courts are, the more likely it is that the Supreme Court is going to take another case to try to provide some clarity. One of the primary roles the Supreme Court has is to create uniformity in the federal system and to displace the kind of confusion and unsettled nature of the law that bubbles up in all these different courts. So I think it leads to a higher likelihood that the Supreme Court's going to step in and provide some clarity somewhere down the line.
Okay. What kind of gun regulations right now are in the most danger of not surviving because of the Heller case and then McDonald?
Well, we're seeing a bunch of challenges right now to permitting for concealed carry of firearms. Almost every state allows concealed carry of firearms. The real question is whether you can require permitting for that, and what can you require as a matter of that permitting. Many states provide what they call shall issue permitting, and that basically means if you meet a series of relatively objective requirements, you can get a firearm. Other states have what they call discretionary permitting, where it requires for someone to have a permit to carry a firearm that you show something like good moral character. Those laws, while popular in some areas, I think they're in real danger of being struck down. I don't think the way the current court envisions constitutional rights justifies them being limited to only those who have good moral character. The kind of subjective standard that police chiefs could use to discriminate against disfavored groups, perhaps. And so I think those laws are the most likely to be invalidated.
Okay, I'll let you go in a few seconds here. But for those groups and individuals that are concerned about gun violence, and there's plenty of it in a lot of places all over the country, how do they go about constructing or helping to construct laws that can withstand constitutional challenges?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of the big challenges, because we don't know what standards the courts are going to use to judge the constitutionality of laws, so they're left kind of blind. I think the biggest challenge they face, though, is not in the courts. The courts are upholding gun control laws left and right. The biggest challenge for gun control advocates is in the legislatures. They cannot get laws passed because it's hard to get the political muscle behind gun control laws. And the truth is, Heller and McDonald's going to make that even more difficult, in the sense of lawmakers who are maybe hedging. They don't really know whether the Second Amendment protects an individual right to bear arms. Well, now the lobbyists can come and say, hey, it really does protect an individual right to bear arms. You should veto this law. So the main challenge for them, I think, really is in the legislatures getting the political coalition together, not so much what standards are going to satisfy the courts.
Okay. You have a new publication coming out regarding gun, this controversy. Tell me a little bit about the book, please.
So the book's called Gunfight: The Battle Over the Right to Bear Arms in America, and it comes out in summer of 2011 by W.W. Norton, is the publishing house. And the book argues that while we've always had an individual right to bear arms in this country, and I believe that that is the best interpretation of the Second Amendment and of state constitutional provisions, we've also always had gun control. And the story of America's so-called gun culture is that we've always tried to balance the gun rights with reasonable efforts to protect public safety by regulating the most dangerous people or the most dangerous guns. And so my book argues that while we have a gun culture, that's right, we also have a gun control culture, and that we should tell both sides of that story, not just one.
Okay.